All right, guys, we brought you damn good beer, and now we're delivering you damn good beef. That's right. Hassel Cattle Company is the absolute best source for farm-to-table Wagyu beef in the country. It's a fourth-generation cattle farm out of Texas, and they ship all over the United States and straight to your door. They call their beef the blue-collar Wagyu. Why? Well, because it's the best Wagyu that any man or woman can afford. Hassel Cattle Company offers Wagyu smoked sausage, New York strip, beef bacon, Wagyu franks, 2 jerky flavors, and their Hamburger One Food Network's Northeast Burger Jam. Not only do we love their beef, but the country loves their beef. So check them out. HassleCattleCompany.com. Use the promo code DNVR10 for 10% off your order. That's HASSELL CattleCompany.com.
Number one for the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number 4 still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with Breck, Brew, and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, and welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast presented by MSU Denver Online. Y'all know the drill. MSU Denver Online puts rigorous and affordable classes taught by professors who bring the real world into the classroom, right into your living room. So check out msudenver.edu/online to scope out all they have to offer and get in on all those great classes, all of those great opportunities. And you should know that MSU Denver students work twice as many hours as students attending any other Colorado institution. So if you use the code DNVR Sports when you apply, you will have all of your application fees waived, which is pretty great. So make sure you check out msudenver.edu/online.
My boy, RK, what's up, my friend? RK is back. Kareem is back. What a good day.
Yeah, it is a great day. And my stimmy just hit, Zach. So you know it's going to be a good day.
Man, that's it. You pretty much are getting the payday that Kareem Jackson just got yesterday.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
He gets $5 million. You get a stimmy. Pretty much the same.
Yep. Just throwing it all into Dogecoin.
There we go. And then you'll be $5 million soon.
Exactly. That's how I'm going to get my K-Jack money. Oh, man. Excited to talk about this today because it just feels like a throwback BSN Broncos, RK and Zach draft show. Because, you're sitting there thinking, okay, so corners off the board. They've got 3. I shouldn't say off the board. Corners taken care of. They've got 3 really good corners on top of Michael Ojemudia, who we know has a very high ceiling back there. They've got safety taken care of. They brought back Von Miller. They've got edge taken care of, although maybe they could use a little depth there, but I don't know if that's first round depth. You go around and you start to think to yourself, what's left? What's left to address? And I know the answer to this. I think there's 2 answers to this. But I think it's a really interesting conversation to have because I think the way the Broncos approach free agency should give us a little bit of a hint as to what they're thinking as they move towards the draft.
Yeah, and Ryan, I just want to go right off the bat and guess the 2 positions you're thinking of. I have to imagine the very obvious one is quarterback, now that cornerback is addressed. And I'm going to say the other one, inside linebacker?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep, mm-hmm. Yep. And I would agree. And would you put them in those orders as well?
Well, yes. And here's the thing. I believe in Drew Lock. Everyone knows that. I've been saying it for years now. And obviously there were some, I don't know, for lack of a better term, dark moments last season for just about everyone's belief of Drew Lock, I think. But when you don't know, then you don't know. And if you don't know at quarterback, then it's a need.
Right.
And it's the need until it's not. Like every day you wake up, you don't have a franchise quarterback for sure. It's your biggest need. And so while the Broncos and George Paton could take the approach of, we want to give Drew Lock more opportunities to be the guy and, answer the question as who is our quarterback of the future. It also has to be something that George Paton wakes up and thinks about every day, especially the way that he's approaching this, Zach, because we could have seen George Paton come in here and said, the silent R word, rebuild, with his actions. He could have not brought back Von Miller. He could have not brought back Kareem Jackson. Heck, he could have not re-signed Justin Simmons, although that would have been, people would have lost their minds. But they could have made a lot of moves that said, hey, it's not coming anytime soon because we don't have an answer at the quarterback position. So we're not going to operate 1 year at a time. George Paton has done the exact opposite. It has Broncos fans really excited because he's clearly approaching this. All the 1 year deals out there, they're approaching this like they've got a chance to make noise this year. For that to happen, they've got to have their quarterback.
Exactly. And Ryan, it's not crazy to say that the Broncos have a top 5 team outside of the quarterback position. And when you have a top 5 team and you get average play from a quarterback, you're making the playoffs right there. So that at least has to be what George Paton's looking for, is just, and that would be a huge upgrade to go from one of the worst quarterback rooms last year in the NFL to just average. But he could even look for more than average. And Ryan, what's interesting about this is he's approached this as win now, and not just win in a 2 to 3 year window, win this year. Kareem Jackson, 1 year deal. Kyle Fuller, 1 year deal. Von Miller, final year of his deal. These are all guys that are for 2021. And what's interesting is he hasn't addressed quarterback at all. Now we find out yesterday Marcus Mariota isn't going to be available. The available quarterbacks that could help you this year have just been flying off the board. And so it does make you think, okay, does he love one of these quarterbacks in the draft? We know he was there on the field for Trey Lance's pro day last week and seemed to really like him. But is Trey Lance the opposite of what this team needs right now? He's a developmental quarterback. Is he a guy that would come in here and be a day one starter? Of the top 5 quarterbacks, I think most people would say he's the furthest from that. So is Mac Jones that guy? Outside of Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people think he's the closest to being NFL ready, at least for week 1 this year. And it really makes you think, how does a first round quarterback fall into what George Paton's doing and thinking this year?
Yeah, it begs the question of who is his guy. Maybe he has a guy. And he's just sitting there saying, okay, well, I'm going to go get my guy in the draft, and we're going to be off to the races as soon as I get him. Now, again, win now and rookie quarterback, whether it's Trey Lance, Mac Jones, just about anyone but Trevor Lawrence, I would say, and even he is a question mark in terms of instant success in the NFL. It just doesn't mix together well. So it begs that question, but I'm just starting to get the vibes that George Paton has a guy that's his guy, and he's going to go get him. And Zach, I'm actually, maybe I shouldn't do this to the kid, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm actually not of the belief that Trey Lance is as much of a developmental project as people are leading him to be. The reason why I say that is because he has probably the single most important skill for instant success from a young quarterback, and that's athleticism and the ability to kind of just make it up as he goes. Obviously, young quarterbacks have so much to learn when they get to the NFL, but if you can just kind of go out there, call a play, and go just make stuff up on the fly, break out of the pocket, run around, wait until, KJ Hamler gets behind the defense and chuck it 60 yards in the air, then you can figure it out. You can survive. And that's the number one thing I've been saying, whether it's about Trey Lance or someone like Mac Jones, is all of these guys who have succeeded right away, or at least survived their early bumps in the road, all of them have had that to fall back on, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's, even Baker Mayfield a little bit was able to use his athleticism to fall back on it. Obviously Lamar Jackson came in the league and just started running around and making everyone look silly out there. And so that to me means that he can figure it out. And you add that on top of the fact that everyone is raving about how fast this guy can pick up an offense, all the work he can do on the board, all the leadership and stuff. I just wonder if it's a little bit like maybe like Karl Anthony Towns, which is an interesting comp here. But if you remember him at Kentucky, he was surrounded by like 9 other 5-star players. And they just said like, hey, you're a post guy. Just go play in the post. And when he was coming into the draft, people were like, this guy can shoot the 3. But he was just never asked to do it at Kentucky. And that's kind of what I feel about Trey Lance. Like, I think he can do a lot of things that he's just never asked to do because he was so much bigger and stronger and faster than everyone he was on the field with. They were just like, hey, let's just go kind of like run power option with the quarterback all the time. And so he wasn't asked to do quite as much. As you can hear, I'm starting to fall in love with Trey Lance and starting to talk myself into all of the upside there. And I think what's great is I think you and I are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to this.
Actually not.
Okay.
I think it's easy to fall in love with Trey Lance. And Ryan, to start this pod, you said we were throwing this back to the BSN days where it was you and I. We have BK in our comment section chiming in. It
Extra
just fits.
Throwback.
It fits those vibes very much. And Ryan, BK, Jedi Hunter, want to know who we think George Paton's guy is. I can get behind any of the top 5 quarterbacks, Ryan. I'm at the point where it's quarterback or bust. At 9, trade up. The Broncos just land any of these quarterbacks. I can convince myself on any of these guys. You know how I feel about Mac Jones. And speaking of Mac Jones, you were talking about athleticism earlier. Mac Jones showing off some speed, baby. That's what I'm talking. I mean, he's got Patrick Mahomes speed. He's got Baker Mayfield speed. That's what I'm talking about. But Ryan,
Hold on. I need you to acknowledge that no one's 40 time is legitimate this year. Not a single person's.
I don't know. I didn't see that from the official Alabama account. I saw that from a scout.
I need that stuff laser timed.
You would probably expect Mac Jones to be like 5'5" would be your guess.
No. I just, 4.72. Is that what they clocked? Is that what they had him at?
Oh man, I was seeing 4.78. I'll take 4.72. Maybe even 4.68.
Yeah, I think I might have seen like one time a 4.72 one time. He wasn't known for his speed, but Brandon Spano pointed this out yesterday. Anquan Bolden ran a 4.71. I'm not buying that, and Mac Jones is just as fast as Anquan Bolden. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it.
He focused on the speed, and there he is. But so the people want us to speculate who George Paton's guy is. And Ryan, I think everyone come draft time outside of the Jaguars are going to fall in love with Trey Lance. You, me, George Paton, every other NFL team. And I think it's going to be a huge decision for the New York Jets, whether to take Zach Wilson, who I think everyone kind of has as the number 2 guy right now, or Trey Lance. And I don't think Trey Lance makes it past 3. I don't think there's any way in the world he makes it past 4. I don't think he makes it past 3 personally. So then this conversation, because what's not to like about Trey Lance? The only thing that you can't like about Trey Lance is that he went to North Dakota State and that he didn't play against tough competition. That's the only thing you can't like, because not only does he have the athleticism, he has the build, he has this every single skill you want, and he has the brain as well. That's the perfect quarterback right there. Just the only caveat, okay, is he going to not be good when he plays good competition? But I think every team is going to say, holy cow, this is Patrick Mahomes. This is the guy that has the brain. This is the guy that has the wheels. This is the guy that has the arm. And so he's not going to last until Patrick Mahomes lasted, in the top 10. It's going to be Trey Lance going in the top 5. So the question is not, is George Paton going to fall in love with him? But is George Paton not just going to be willing to take a quarterback in the first round, but make a huge trade up to get Trey Lance?
Like I said, I think he has his guy, and I think he'll do what he has to do to get him. Now, for a while, I thought that was Deshaun Watson, but obviously, all things Deshaun Watson are on heavy pause for quite a while now. And I think it was Albright who reported yesterday, 2 teams who were, hot pursuit of Deshaun Watson have just said, like, we have to move forward without him because it's just this, regardless of guilt or not, it's going to take a long time for this to sort itself out for better or for worse. So now, like, you just have to operate under the assumption that you're never, like, you might as well, honestly, if you're an NFL GM, operate under the assumption that Deshaun Watson isn't playing football again.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate for so many reasons. But so now I'm starting to think it's in the draft. I'm honestly feel like he's on one of 2 sides of the spectrum, because to me, while you're just such a nice guy, you just love everyone, I feel like you're either a person who likes Trey Lance types or you're a person who likes Mac Jones types. And well, I am not personally a Mac Jones guy, and I don't mean this as an insult to him. I've been saying this over and over and over again. If you loved Kirk Cousins, you're going to love Mac Jones. And that points me in that direction. Like, those 2, when I think of who Mac Jones is in the NFL, I see a lot of Kirk Cousins. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's someone who at one point became the highest paid quarterback ever. So if he did love Kirk Cousins, he is going to love Mac Jones in my eyes.
And did he love Kirk Cousins?
We don't know. That's what we don't know. Obviously, he was part of the front office who gave him such an insane offer. But I honestly don't know. I don't know if he loved Kirk Cousins, or if he loved Kirk Cousins at one point and then fell out of love at a different point. It's kind of the mystery there. He definitely was part of a front office that did love Kirk Cousins, and now he is part of his own front office with no extra influence, that could potentially sway him one way or the other. So it's a very interesting kind of type of situation there with Mac Jones and Kirk Cousins, and Zach kind of left us hanging there with a cliffhanger because he said he's going to let us know if he loved him. He said he's going to let us know if George Paton loved him some Kirk Cousins, and that's the other answer. And you could definitely talk yourself into a situation where he's looking at Mac Jones as the single most polished quarterback in this class and is saying, like, we need a quarterback who can let us win now, and we think Mac Jones is ready to step in and go. Zach, you left us with quite the cliffhanger there. You said you're going to let us know if he loved Kirk Cousins.
Well, yes, he did. He did love Kirk Cousins because he gave him $90 million in guaranteed money. And Ryan, that's a great point.
Decision.
Oh, well, I mean, we have to base it on, what he's done in the past. And he's also a guy that has drafted Christian Ponder in the first round. Now, again, maybe that wasn't him. Maybe that was just his friend taking over there. But not super athletic guys, not guys that had all the tools. And you can absolutely make the argument that since he's drafted Christian Ponder, though, that the game has changed at quarterback and it's gone to the much more athletic type. And you can say that George Paton has changed the way he approaches it as well. Although kind of the Kirk Cousins going after him with big time money would kind of throw a wrench in that. But Ryan, I'm loving what you're saying because like I said, I love any of these top 5 guys and I'm okay with any of them. And I love me some Mac Jones, and especially if he's building a team to win sooner than everyone thinks in Denver. Mac Jones is a guy that can absolutely hit the ground running because he's played against the best competition in college ball. He's proven to be very, very good under pressure. He's proven that he can play against that elite talent and put up great numbers.
So I have to put you on the spot here. If you had to guess who George Paton's guy is, who is it? And then I'll ask you a follow-up to that.
Like I said, I think 30 to 31 teams will fall in love with Trey Lance. Will just fall in love with him. So that's why I'm going to say that's going to be George Paton's guy.
Nice. I love it because that's where I'm at, but I also am like acknowledging that might be wishful thinking in my head. We just don't know what a George Paton guy looks like. And I said that after he was hired and John Elway stepped down, like that was my favorite part of all this is I can easily look at guys and say whether that's a John Elway guy or not. I have no clue what George Paton guys are. We can use hints from the way things went in Minnesota, but obviously he wasn't the final decision maker there. And if Minnesota is anything like Denver, we know that the final decision maker can sometimes go against the wishes of everyone else there. So I'll be interested to find out. I do like the idea, that Mace has brought up time and time again, which is that the Vikings really do their homework of the players that are in their backyard. And, Trey Lance falls into that category. But I can also really see him being a Mac Jones guy. And we haven't even mentioned, Justin Fields or Zach Wilson yet. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you that Trey Lance is going to rocket up boards. And honestly, if you gave them completely blank white jerseys and took all the competition off the field and just watched film of these guys, like I could see some NFL GM saying they like Trey Lance better than Trevor Lawrence. Like they might be getting a little bit crazy, but I could see an NFL GM saying that. So it's really interesting.
Ryan, what scares me about all of this really quick is it seems too obvious. And that's one thing that GMs don't want to set up is too obvious of a situation. Now, if you're the Jaguars, that's okay because no one can jump you. If you're the Jets, they could trade Sam Darnold now. They're going to hold on to him close to the draft to try to build up his value and make some speculation about what's going on. And that's also silly. But when you're at 9, you don't want to be known that you have to get a quarterback. And that's my only pause here is this just too obvious?
No. Zach freezing in a great spot there. No, I don't think it's too obvious. We got you back. Because I think the Broncos can roll forward with Drew Lock. There is absolutely a world that I see where Drew Lock figures it out. He takes a big step forward in year 3. He finally has Cortland Sutton back with him. You get a healthy offensive line in front of him and a good right tackle in front of him. No disrespect to Elijah Wilkinson, but you get all of those things together, and I can see a world in which Drew Lock makes a jump. And so I don't think the Broncos' hands are tied to have to go quarterback in the top 10. In fact, I think the Broncos are in an incredible position to just take the best player available. Just be patient. Now, if you want to get quarterback, that changes everything, and you got to jump up probably to get your guy. But if you are willing to say we don't need quarterback, we want quarterback right now, but we are willing to live in a world where we give Drew Lock another opportunity, second year in the offense for the first time since his junior year of college. I can see a world in which they just say, let's sit at 9, see who's there. Whoever is the best there, we can take them. And that could be inside linebacker, although I think 9 might be a little high. I think you could actually go back to get inside linebacker. That might be cornerback. And that is, on the surface, it seems like you don't need it, but you have multiple guys with expiring deals after this year. So you could say that corner is a need. And maybe it's Kyle Pitts, where they just say, this guy is a freak, we want more freaks on our team. And I would support that entirely. So I don't think their hands are tied, but I definitely think that there's a chance that George Paton is telling everyone in the Broncos front office, this guy is our guy. I'm sold on him, and I'm going to do what it takes to get him. And that would excite everyone in Broncos country.
What you're saying is there's a chance on Lance, and that would be very exciting. Like you kind of laid out, Ryan, Broncos can go BPA. Broncos can trade up for a quarterback. Broncos can trade back. George Paton, outside of the quarterback position, has put himself in a great spot. The spot that every GM wants to be in heading into a draft, especially sitting with the 9th overall pick, where that could carry value if a quarterback is still there for a team that wants to trade up, and you're close enough to move up to get your guy if you want. They're in a great spot. So my final question to this is though, Ryan, let's say they do roll with Drew. We know that they're going to bring in competition for Drew. Do you make that move now leading up to the draft? Do you make that move on draft day when you trade for Gardner Minshew after the first round goes and you don't get your quarterback? Or do you just hope that you can find someone on the free agent market, that Alex Smith is still there, or that you can make a trade after the draft? When do you do that?
I think you'll see the Broncos add to their quarterback room before the draft. Honestly, regardless of whether they are targeting a quarterback in the first round or not, kind of one, to have stability there and have flexibility when you get to the draft, and two, to protect yourself from what you said, Zach. If everyone knows that you're targeting quarterback and you're desperate to do so, then you can get fleeced. And honestly, if you're trying to move up, teams are going to know what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a guy that you can fall back on, and Drew Lock honestly is that guy in my opinion, but even then, teams are going to be a little skeptical. You have to be able to say, like, if you're saying we'll give you this year's first, next year's first, and a third, and they're saying, like, we need you to make that third a second, you need to be able to say no. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so if you have Drew Lock and a veteran behind him, you really can just say no. And you have to be able to do so.
Yeah, and Jedi Hunter says Alex Smith could easily win 10 games for us. I don't disagree. All
right, Zach. Before we get out of here, we got to do our DraftKings pick of the week. Do you have something up your sleeve for me, and does it involve Alabama?
Of course it does. It absolutely involves Alabama. Speaking of Mac Jones, that gets me ready for this pick. I'm doing a teaser on this next coming week's games. I've got Alabama against UCLA. I like Alabama straight up. They're also 6-point favorites. I like them to cover that, but why not just make it easy teasy money here? Pair that with Gonzaga. They're 13.5-point favorites going up against Creighton. Let's tease that. So get 6 points for Bama, makes them just have to win the game, and brings Gonzaga's line down to 7.5. When Gonzaga turned it on this past week, they were so hot. They're going to be hot against Creighton. So give me Alabama, Gonzaga teaser.
Alabama, Gonzaga teaser. I like it. He's thinking deep here. Unfortunately, the line isn't up yet, but I'm just going to tell you.
He's thinking about this. This is a big one, too. This is the bets guy.
You know what? I was going to tell you to just wait on Nikola Jokic points because they're not quite up yet and just take what they are. But I like this line enough. Nuggets are the best team in the NBA on the second night of back-to-back over the last 2 years. So I'm not worried about that. Give me Nuggets money line tonight at Toronto, -141.
Oh, man, I love that. I absolutely love that. And something else I love is our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And with the tournament in full swing, they're going to give you even more incredible deals this coming weekend over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They're giving you a chance to win $100 when you just bet $1. That's 100-1 odds this weekend. All you have to do is pick a team to win this weekend. And if your team wins, you win $100 over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Pick any college basketball team that's still in the tournament this weekend. And if they win this weekend, boom, there you go, $100. And you can also check them out for UFC 260 this weekend. And of course, just like you said, Ryan, some NBA, some hockey as well. They have fantastic odds boosts. Even for the tournament, they still have odds boosts. So make sure to head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR to sign up to turn $1 into $100 if any college basketball team of your choosing pulls off the win. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up for us on the live side of things, but we still got plenty of more Broncos talk to come on the podcast side of things. So make sure you catch the second half of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this part of the show, hit us with a like, hit us with a subscribe, and you can even sign up for alerts whenever we go live. We appreciate that. We've got a great edition of Three Ring Circus coming to you on Friday this week with special guest Vic Lombardi. We're super excited about that. Ooh. So make sure you hang out on Friday. I know that it's going to be a fun time with Vic. But that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll talk to you guys later.